pandemic time is taking a little long and things are becoming totally uncertain. But one thing is certain, your job interview preparation. We at CV Owl leave no stone unturned in helping you to be best prepared for your interviews. Starting from CV making services to mock interviews, we do everything to help you put your best foot forward. And also to get your answers from the other side of the table, we are back yet again with another episode of the HR Talks. And today we have with us Mr. Samir. Welcome, Mr. Samir.
Thank you, Aditi.
So why don't you tell us something about yourself before we start?
Sure, Aditi. So, my brief background, I'm an electronics engineer and then did my full-time MBA in HR from a reputed business school in Pune, SIBM Pune. And for the last 12 years, I'm working in the industry, majorly with two corporations, so one in the manufacturing sector and one in the defense sector. And have handled a role, again, majorly in line HR. A short stint was also there, you can say, in recruitment. So that's my overall, you can say, professional and educational background.
So now that we have you with us, where you'll be answering all our questions, so we are very glad. So the first question that we have today is, whenever you get resumes, how do the design or the template of that resume bring an impact on you as a recruiter?
So good question. I think somewhere it reflects probably the state of mind of the candidate. I would say it's a standout if somebody has worked on the resume and tried to make it crisper, try to ensure that it catches the eye of the recruiter. So those things do stand out, and as they say, first impression is the last impression, and probably those CVs kind of get shortlisted more where candidates have at least ensured that the right amount of details are there in the resume, not too much, not too less. So I would definitely say it would help all those job seekers, either first time or laterals, to at least go through the resume and each and every time, because nowadays you might also be hearing there is no one piece of resume that would be applicable to all job interviews. You might have to customize it to ensure that whatever is being highlighted in the job description, it's there and it's highlighted properly to kind of catch the eye of the recruiter, and especially the volumes that the recruiters handle. Unless and until you do that, I'm sure you would miss the bus.
That's great to know about. And as sir, you were talking about first impression is the last impression in context of resumes. Could you please explain to us how first impression is the last impression works in the context of interviews?
Sure. So one thing, as I already mentioned, do study the job description that you would have for the job, and ensure that those points are covered in the resume and catches the eye of the recruiter, because unless and until it does that, probably the recruiter may not shortlist the resume. So that was one. Second is your most recent experience. Do have all the relevant details there properly highlighted. Ensure that the various part of the job, so there could be a tenure part, there could be what are the various verticals you handle, at what level you are in the organization, what is the scope of your stakeholders, and obviously your achievements. So sometimes people do not differentiate these various parts. And again, if you make the efforts to differentiate all these parts and probably even what the organization is into, what product it is into, then it catches the eye of the recruiter. He knows that all the information he's looking at is there. It helps him to make a decision on your profile and probably get you sooner to that interview table as compared to the other candidates.
That's great to know, sir. Answers of these questions, make us more confident for the next interview or the next job that we are going to apply. So,
Right.
moving on to the next question that we have from some students is how can one be best prepared for their first ever interview?
All right. The first thing that comes to my mind, and let's start with this example. This is a real life example where I think we went for a campus placement in NIT Rourkela, and there was this fresher, I think MTech, and whom we hired. And I believe all freshers who get shortlisted are equal when they come to kind of the table. So you would be surprised to know the reason why we hired, and I was not the only one, probably the technical panel who was there with me, and he was a very senior person in the organization. Both of them hired that person just for her passion and her passion for so we were asking her about her hobby, and she said that I like to read books, so we kind of dig deeper that what book do you read, and she told with a lot of passion that what book she read and what did she like about the book. So that's one of the things I would say would stand out. See, yeah, everyone, be it a Samir or an Aditi, has a differentiator. Sometimes we feel that, oh, I don't have any differentiator. But so one is you need to focus on your differentiator, because apart from that, probably you are at par with all other freshers. Second is how passionate are you about, I would say, again, since the academics would be the same for all freshers, whatever you are pursuing different from academics, your co-curricular, how you're serving the society, what are your thoughts around everything which is happening in the world, say the Black Right movements in US right now, the pandemic situation, the movement of the migrant labor, the economic revival. So you can't be immune to that, right? As a knowledgeable person, you need to have some opinion. So that second would be that, and that all should be based on facts. Obviously, there is an emotional part to your response to those situations. But given all the facts of those situations, what are your opinions about that? Third, I think for the organizations I have worked, and I can say that true for most of the organizations, uh, each organization has a culture, a value system. So as a fresher, you need to also kind of study that and probably bring that up in the interview, that how aligned you are to the organization, to the culture, to the product. Obviously, that would require some amount of research, which would definitely impress or bring a positive highlight in favor of the candidate. The second thing it also does is it kind of helps the person also put in front of the interview panel that how aligned I am to your organization. Because that also helps the interview panel, because I'm saying again and again, as compared to all other freshers, probably you would be at the same ground. But when you kind of speak about all these differentiators or are prepared, because these are the questions that would come your way, so I would say that would leave a very positive impression in mind of these students. And last but not the least, be thoroughly prepared about the interview. Sometimes it happens that either you're not fully prepared, or probably you've gone through a lot of interviews and you are dejected. So you never know that the next interview is the one that you'll crack. based on the 10 interviews that you have already gone through. Be motivated, be your best, put your best foot forward, because you never know when you'll crack that first interview. I think these are some of the highlights that I have personally experienced myself or while interviewing freshers. So that's what I would like to highlight.
That's great, sir. And in this answer, you have partly answered our next question, but still, I would like to go ahead with it because most of us have this again in our heads. So, what are the some of the basic questions that you usually ask in an interview to a candidate?
Right. So obviously, Aditi, whenever we face a candidate, we have the resume, and at some point we have glanced through the resume. Uh, but as always happens, we give the first opportunity to the candidate. So it's about introducing yourself. And I think that's the key, wherein how best you can sum up yourself in those first 1 or 2 minutes, because that's the first or probably the second verbal discussion or face-to-face interview that you'll have with the panel. So how best you can sum up your personal, professional, and education till that point of time. How best you can sum up your highlights, especially the achievements, because and especially which are directly related to the job, so that they can directly dive deep dive into those questions. Uh, Thirdly, what we ask is, again, from an organization perspective, questions around culture, whatever our value systems are. We try to dig deeper, because again, if the person has made to the interview table, we do feel that the person has the experience, the skills, and probably we leave it to the person to prove otherwise. Last but not the least, I would say we do pose questions around, say, this is a given situation, and that could be around values, that could be around technical area, and what would you have done. So we do try and challenge and understand the thought process that would be there in the mind of the candidate, which tells you a lot of things around the technical area, how the person thinks, what is the value system that the person has been brought up, good or bad. Those kind of things also kind of opens up the candidate for a clear evaluation by the interview panel.
Those are some good, insightful questions. And tell me something about yourself is, a question which is asked everywhere, be it your higher
Right.
study education interviews or job interviews. But, still at times we, lack that very question's answer. We don't know what we are supposed to speak. We are at loss of words on talking about our own selves. So I think
And
there,
Aditi, it's sorry. So what I meant was sometimes you're absolutely right. It's like in cricket. You know that you will get a, say, a full toss as the next ball, and still probably you're not capable enough to hit it for a six. So it's simply that candidates need to be careful about that. It is their chance, and I think 99% of the interviews, once you're there on the interview table, you have the capability, you have the skills. That's why you are there at the interview table. I think then it's completely on your ability, or for you to kind of prove otherwise, that you don't kind of deserve that job or that opportunity.
true, sir. I think we'll, try to focus more and be always positive about our interviews and put our best foot forward. So, without taking much of your time, we move to the last question that we have. How do you think can a candidate be confident during their interview?
Great question, Aditi. I think the first thing about confidence is, I think it's a mirror of what you think about yourself. Sometimes you may want to focus on your failures, or the low points in your life, or the failures you had in previous interviews, or things that are not working with you in your current job. But as soon as you would start kind of focusing on the positives, the things you have achieved in your current job, in your life, in your education. Again, every person is unique. He has his own story, and life is always at a mix of lows and highs. And sometimes what happens is we tend to focus more on the lows as compared to the highs. Once we start focusing on the highs, and again, this needs some attention, some time devotion to kind of search for those areas because they get clouded behind all our lows. The groundwork around that, and you'll find those. You'll be surprised to find those in most cases where people feel that, oh, I am a big failure. That requires time. B, once you start kind of finding those areas, those themselves kind of starts motivating you. Oh, I've done this, I've done that. In education, I was not a topper, but hey, I kind of did these extracurricular activities. I was part of this group. I led that group. I organized that festival. In job also, again, we kind of struggle with the things that we have not achieved, but we do not focus on things we have achieved, because unless and until you have achieved, you would not have survived in your job. If you are a fresher, again, focus on the whole education journey. It's not just about the studies. It's about how you contributed in a group activity, in a college activity. So once you start kind of evaluating life, focusing on the positive areas, that would bring a lot of motivation. Second, I think the thing that you need to probably focus on is this is not the only opportunity. If you go out there with a weight on your shoulder that it's make or break for you, I'm not sure if that's going to work, and that would kind of put an immense amount of pressure on you. Even if you are well prepared, you would not be able to deliver. So don't put that kind of a pressure. Go with very light shoulders, that this is another interview. This is definitely you'll crack. Try and put your best, and you can do a lot of things. As I said, you can do the whole preparation that I talked about your CV, about evaluating your life on education, personal and professional front. Now, these days, we also talk about a lot of things around meditation, how to calm yourself. Why not do that before kind of stepping into the interview? Be there at the interview place a little ahead of time. Do not be overconfident, no matter how super achiever you are. I think these are some of the things. If you have adequate preparedness, if you kind of keep a level head, and if you kind of always look at the positive side, I think all these things will keep you motivated on the positive side, and I see no reason why you would not be able to crack that interview that you are going to next.
So what we understand is you just need to be confident, be the best prepared, like the best way you feel that you're prepared. Put your best foot forward, and you'll get what you want. It's just that you should be like adaptable, and your skill set should match the culture of the organization, what they're expecting out of you, sort of in a
Absolutely.
brief.
Just to kind of add, Aditi, is just in a nutshell, if you can be as calm as I'm just going to meet a couple of new people and I'm going to tell them about myself. If you can be as easy as that, I don't think so. There is any reason why you would not be successful in that.
Sure, thinking about the interview just as another conversation rather than
Right.
another test would make it
Correct.
easy.
Right.
So it was great having all these questions answered by you and simplifying our doubts and queries. So thank you for coming and joining us for this initiative.
Thank you, Aditi, and it was a pleasure. And I think your organization is doing a good job. The whole product offerings that you have, or the service offerings, I think this was required for a while now. And I wish you and your organization all the very best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we end, we would like to request our audience to like and share the video. This keeps us motivated to keep making new such videos. You may also drop in your feedback or any questions that you want us to ask on your behalf in the comment section below. Thank you.